This was a grazing field with cattle, spring-born calves in here. We took them off. My contractor come in, sprayed it with Roundup, and left it 7 days. We put the cattle back in because there was a wee bit of grass and cover still there, and we got it grazed down. And then he come in with his direct drill. And that's how it was established with the seed in here.
Well, I mean, the spraying of Roundup prior to a graze or prior to a silage has become very, very much more common. It brings us several benefits. One, there's loads of leaf for the activity of the glyphosate to work through. So the Roundup works through the root system of all that's there. But also, because you've cut it or grazed it, you remove a lot of the organic matter. And one of my few concerns of direct drilling into a sprayed off stubble is that we can get a phytotoxicity that comes not from the Roundup, but from the dying turf that's there. And particularly if it's a thick mat, you can get young seedlings being impeded in their speed of germination, and in fact altogether you can see some twists in them. That's one of the few advantages of the plough. The plough will give us less weed competition, and it will give us a better seed bed, and we do tend to get a faster, more even establishment. But of course we lose moisture, and in this part of the world that never used to be a problem, but it's perhaps becoming a problem, and it's money, it's a cost.
Yep.
And everybody has to look at trying to establish crops like this with the minimum expenditure, and certainly direct drilling into a sprayed off stubble will give us that best thing. However, if you have a plough and you like ploughing and you've got plenty of time, get on and plough it. But I would round up before the plough too, just to make absolutely certain you get all those growing weeds like creeping thistles and couch grass and bents and so on. There's a lot of weeds with root systems that are better off dead before you start.
We will graze this probably beginning mid-October with lambs. I usually weigh my lambs, so it'll be kind of 36, 38 kilo lambs that'll come onto this. And then mostly just for fattening, not so much growing them. It will be in blocks. This field's about 8 acres, so I'll probably split it into about 3 or 4 sections and graze about and just kind of move them. And that's basically just to try.
Do they mostly eat the bulb out at that level, Stuart?
The wall in blocks, the wall once you get kind of out the leaf first, then the left with the stalk, and then by the time once you want it stalk mode, then they're going into the bulb as such, and then that's and especially in blocks, I think they kind of eat the turnip, the stubble turnip better that way.
They do, definitely, yeah. Well, your lambs at 36, 38 kilograms, if we want to do a comparison between these brassica crops, in general we would say that the lowest yielding of them would be a forage rape, and I would expect a hectare to feed 50 lambs, that's 30 kilogram lambs, a hectare to feed 50 lambs for 50 days. Something like a stubble turnip, the yield I would expect as such to be maybe 5.5 tons of dry matter, so therefore I would expect almost 70 lambs to be fed on a hectare for 50 days. Something similar for a hybrid brassica like this, but a bit easier utilised because you don't have to train them to eat the bulbs. Sometimes with stubble turnips we have the yield there in figures, but we don't get it consumed. We have less utilisation. Utilisation of these is virtually everything that you grow, and then you move up to something like kale, where really a hectare of kale you would expect to feed maybe 100 30 kilogram lambs for 50 days, remembering that you've got the cost and the risk of failure, which is so unfortunately so prevalent in Scotland. This is just branching out nicely. We can see new branches, new leaves coming through the middle here. I would expect, this is early September, I would expect this to grow on very, very handsomely until Stuart puts lambs into here in October. As far as regrowth is concerned, Spitfire has a very digestible stem, so there's sometimes not quite so much. Generally, we have seen rapes and rape crosses giving us a good second cut graze, and indeed in Aberdeenshire in the decent mild winters, I've seen them graze 3 times by the end of February.